Hello everyone and welcome to the 3.0 healer gearing guide. Now we're gonna do 3 of these because they are very slightly different variations on the gearing priority for your healer. We're gonna cover the Scoundrel first, the 3.0 Scoundrel, the newly balanced Scoundrel, which is still a pretty awesome class, to be honest with you. We are not a single target healer as a Scoundrel, basically. We are an AoE healer. We're basically like, think of the Sage, how good the old Sage was. We basically are it. Our Colto Waves kinda does everything. So of course your first priority for gearing is the set bonus. This is my main character. I don't know why she sat down. I think I pressed Z by accident there, or X by accident should I say. Well, you know, sit down, have a seat, have a break. So your first priority is to get the 6-piece set bonus. That should be your first priority. The 2-piece set bonus, activating a healing ability has a 15% chance to grant field medics critical bonus, which causes your next Colto injection or underworld medicine to be an automatic critical hit. Very, very good for our, it is a band-aid on our AoE, on our single target, should I say, healing. Pretty useful. The 4-piece is not so useful. Reduces the energy cost of Colto Infusion and Colto Pack by 2. Really? Not a great one. The 6-piece reduces the cooldown of Colto Waves by 1 second. If you're going to do Underlurker HM, this is required. Again, it's not the best thing, but it is nice. It does mean that we can be a bit spammy with our Colto Waves. I mean, you can see here it's 5 seconds until it comes off cooldown again after we use it, because we use it for 2.8, and then it's another 5 seconds, so it means we can be quite spammy with our AoE heals. We don't really want to be that spammy with our AoE heals because we tend to run into energy management issues with this class. So our priority stat wise is going to be Alacrity. Non-set bonus, your priority is Alacrity. I know a lot of people saying, what, the 2.0 Scoundrel, we didn't really need that much Alacrity, but of course our main source of healing in a lot of these AoE intensive healing fights like the Underlurker, there are fights like what's the other one, Revan as well. Revan's another one where we need that. Colto Waves is our top heal. Colto Waves is absolutely our #1 heal. We tend to struggle, where we tend to struggle is with single target heals. Our single target healing is not that great. So going for Alacrity, making sure that this is off cooldown as much as possible, and we're channeling this. Because our main heal is a channeled ability, we want to be channeling for as little as possible. So that means Alacrity means that we can reduce this cooldown and we can channel as quickly. If you look at the Underlurker, when you go behind the rock and it casts its big massive attack that knocks you back, if you get off your Colto Cloud and then get your Colto Waves off before you get the knockback, it can mean the difference between a wipe and you succeeding. The Underlurker is where we shine as a Scoundrel healer. It really is. There's a lot of AoE damage going out. As long as the DPS stick together, then it's pretty decent. If you have too many melee, of course, then it's going to be a bit of an issue. But again, getting the 6-piece set bonus should be your priority. Alacrity tends to be our priority. We kind of want between 7 and 8% Alacrity is the goal. I'm 7.89. That's probably 8% is probably the cutoff point. So we're pretty close to capping our Alacrity. Our next stat priority with the 2-piece set bonus, bearing in mind that it does make an auto crit, is Surge, our crit multiplier. We do want as much Surge, 75% is the cutoff point. 70% is probably about the minimum I would go for the Surge for the Scoundrel. Personally, I would always take, as you can see, we don't have a lot of power Surge mods. We do have the 198 shotgun, 1 Surge, and I think we've got 1, no, we got 2 PCs, so we got 3 Surge PCs in this, 4 actually, we got crit Surge in there, so 4 Surge PCs. It gives me 71%, nearly 72%. Again, if we scale those up, we should hit about 72, 73. Sometimes, I mean, I tend to swap out between fights. I swap out an enhancement here. If you look at our enhancement, what I swap out is one of these Alacrity ones for one of the Surge ones. I don't have it in my inventory, but I do have it in. It's in my cargo bay right now. Especially fights like Sword Squadron. Sword Squadron, that's the wrong thing. Sword Squadron is where we struggle on Sword Squadron because it is a lot of single target healing on the tanks. The groups tend to be spread out in that fight because there's a lot of AoE damage, so we can't really take advantage of our AoE heals. Therefore, if your single target healing Surge then becomes, it takes us to 73% Surge, and it gives our auto crit Underworld Medicine a nice boost to that single target healing, because you want to keep the tanks up. We're not really a tank healer anymore. That's the big thing. We just aren't a tank healer anymore. Crit chance should be 25%. 25 is the minimum for crit. You do want your things to be critting. Bear in mind we are a hot based healer. Our single target priority tends to be 2 stacks of slow release med pack. We want to keep up on the tank at all times. And then we want to keep our we do want to keep a buff up on ourselves, which is bedside manner. So any ability that consumes upper hand, i.e. this gives us bedside manner, which increases our healing done. Also, if we're using emergency med pack to refresh the cooldown of slow release med pack, you see it goes back up there. That's the only time we really use this. But our healing priority on the tank is keep 2 stacks of slow release med pack up at all times. Colto pack you generally want to keep on the tank. Keep those 2 hots ticking away. Get that periodic healing off, and you want to be spending keeping your bedside mana up. And there we go, we've got our auto crit and our bedside mana up there, and you can see we can get that big heal off from Underworld Medicine. That's what we want generally. We have to line it up really to get that big heal. That's why we never tend to be that high on the healing meters when it comes to a single target fight, because we have to set up our heals, and classes like Sages and Mercs have that instant cast, which is a big benefit to them. It's not really a huge thing for us, because our healing mostly comes from slow release med pack is where our single target heal comes from. Emergency med pack is not a great heal anymore, but it is useful for keeping that stack of well, not a stack really, keeping the buff, keeping that bedside mana buff up. You want to have bedside mana up before you fire off Underworld Medicine. It's generally a good idea. You always want to start the fight in stealth, come out of stealth, and you've got your 2 stacks of upper hand, and then you stack your slow release med pack. This is just before the pull, and there we go, we've got that there. We fire that off, we've got our 2 buffs up, we've got our bedside mana and our crit buff up, and we get that big heal off. It's not that big, to be honest. The Merc can heal for a hell of a lot more than that, but it's kind of all we got really for single target healing. Also keeping Colto pack on the target is a good idea. Keeping Colto pack on your main tank is a good idea as well. When it all goes wrong, because when the shit hits the fan, Colto Cloud is surprisingly decent as a single target heal. Now a lot of people saying don't do this, but this is the last resort. Everything is unavailable, we have no upper hand, the tank is about to die. Fire a Colto Cloud at him, and then Colto Waves tends to be our next thing. So we tend to just do this, and then this. This is when we have nothing, bear in mind. If we still have things like the Field Medic's critical and our upper hand and things like that, we don't want to do that. So we want to fire that off. Again, fire off that heal. What do we get? Something big, 11k. It's not that big. We used to heal for a lot more than that at level 55. But we have been nerfed quite badly. But again, we're still useful. We're still useful. There's a lot of fights where there's a lot of AoE damage going around, and we are the most useful for that. We have lost a lot of mobility, so hence the Alacrity. Again, the less time we spend channeling things, the better. Our diagnostic scan, of course, which helps us with our energy regen. Tends to be a little freebie. It also helps us get these crit buffs up. It is kind of useful, actually. It is surprisingly useful. Again, the less time you spend channeling that, the better. So that's what your strategy tends to be. Keep bedside mana up, take advantage of your Field Medic's critical bonus, and your AoE priority is Colto Waves. Colto Cloud is very useful. Tends to be quite high on the energy consumption, to be honest with you. It's very, very high on energy. You can see it does deplete our energy quite a bit. But it is nice to stack these out, and you can see how much AoE healing that we get done so quickly. Again, it would also be advisable to use something like this as well to get your bedside mana up, which again increases all healing done. We'll show you bedside mana. There it is, there you're level 59. Consuming an upper hand ability increases all healing done by 3% for 6 seconds. It's better than nothing. 3% is not a lot, but it is pretty nice. It's a nice buff to keep up. And bear in mind that we will always be consuming upper hand abilities. There is no benefit to our heals to be sitting on upper hand, really. There's nothing that benefits us. Remember the old 2.0 spec where you would always want to sit on at least one stack of upper hand where possible. Of course, if something was going to die, we were going to spend it, but generally we would, if we got down to one stack, our next heal would be Underworld Medicine or something that generated upper hand, or we'd be refreshing slow release med pack. We wouldn't be going and spending an upper hand ability if we didn't need to, because it gave us a nice healing boost. However, now we want to spend them. We want to spend them as soon as we get them because of this bedside mana buff. Utilities we'll discuss. It's not really a guide on that, it's more of a gearing guide. I like Smuggled Get Up. Again, Scar Tissue is good. The third one, pick what you want. Really, to be honest, I like the enhanced stealth because it helps me move in as the tank's moving in and keep me close to the tank without pulling the boss. It's quite nice. For flashpoints, Flash Powder isn't too bad for doing trash mobs. Again, reduces the target's accuracy by 20% for 8 seconds after Flash Grenade finishes. Helps out a hell of a lot when you're doing trash packs. Useless against bosses, so you know, make of that what you will. Again, I like the defense screen heals me for 5% of my maximum health when it collapses. And keep cool. Cool Head immediately restores 15 additional energy. Energy management is an issue for us. For certain fights, for heroic, I like smuggled defenses. Reduce the cooldown of escape. Defense screen is the main thing that you want. Is escape and defense screen. Again, defense screen is going to be our kind of go-to heal, our go-to defensive cooldown. We get the heal when it finishes, and Hotwire Defenses is pretty nice. Increase the amount of damage absorbed by defense screen by 30%. Very useful if there's fights with certain spike damage. If we look at fights like Sword Squadron, if we get the not so huge grenade, what we can do is fire off our defense screen and we can absorb it. We can absorb that really huge grenade. It's pretty nice actually. Again, you could also time your scamper if you time your scamper right. Bear in mind that we tend to use our scamper just to get away from the rest of the group. So again, Hotwire Defense is pretty nice. Surprise Comeback, if you're taking a lot of damage over time, it tends to be Pugnacity grants Surprise Comeback, which restores 5% of our total health every 3 seconds and reduces damage received for 20%. So if we're taking a lot of damage, i.e. Underlurker, where we're taking a lot of AoE damage, then Surprise Comeback tends to be more useful over Hotwire Defenses. But Hotwire Defense is better for taking big spike damage. Again, like Sword Squadron, that not so huge grenade, every time we get it, we can just mitigate it. And again, it saves us healing ourselves, which is nice. And we get that little self heal at the end of it, which is pretty nice. It's about 2.5k healing, so it's not too bad. It's about basically a free emergency med pack if you think about it, because that's what emergency med pack is healing for these days. Yeah, but I mean, it's a lot easier to gear than a, you know, a DPS, because most of the things tend to have power surge in them by default. So what you end up is with like 20% crit and 78% surge if you just put things in the default gear. I like the yeah, because 78% surge is ridiculous. We shouldn't be stacking that much surge. There's no real benefit to that. We're way past the diminishing return point. But again, optimizing this gear, it doesn't take too long. It's basically swapping surge for Alacrity. That's basically what you want to do. It doesn't take too long. Again, but it's not as big an issue to gear a healer as it is a DPS, because when you're gearing a DPS, being at 24% crit, it's not a disaster. Say you had 1% less crit, it's not that bad. If you had 1% off on your surge, it's not so bad. I mean, if you're 1% off on your accuracy as a DPS, you know, it's a 1% chance to miss. And knowing my luck in things, the thing that will miss is the big hit, you know, the turbulence or something, or blood boiler or something like that. That's the thing that'll get resisted, knowing my luck. That's what I tend to think about Alacrity as a stat, or accuracy as a stat. So you want to get that to cap. There's no such restriction on a healer accuracy. We've got 1% bonus from our companion. That's why we're at 101 for tech. We don't care about ranged. Should point out, I don't care about range as a healer. Everything we do heals as tech. So our bonus healing, get it as high as possible. And again, energy regen we want to be pretty high as well. I'm nearly 8%. Again, maybe in 198 we'll have a look at this when we start raiding, when we start getting into doing hard mode every week, hard mode operations every week. We might redress the balance. We might drop that down to maybe 7%. We can maybe drop the 0.89 and go back up to 75% surge. It depends really what we are doing. 8-man we tend to want a balance of crit and surge, because for 8-man we are going to be doing quite a lot. We have to heal one of the tanks really in 8-man. Can't let the other healer do all that healing. But for 16-man you can kind of just focus on Alacrity and just be an AoE healer, because you've got 3 other healers in the group. Hopefully none of them will be Scoundrels as well. But again, it just comes down to what you're going to be healing. I'm mostly healing hard mode flashpoints and story mode ops mostly, but we're moving into hard mode soon, so getting that surge up might be the most important priority. It's always nice to have. I do have a bunch of spare 192 surge mods lying around. I've got, I think, a few of them. Or a few enhancements, should I say. Where's my surge enhancement gone? I think I might have given it to my gunslinger actually. I'll need to get that back from her, but we do have a few. Yeah, I've got a 192 surge enhancement right here lying around in the pistol. Have we got anything else? We've got a bunch of scrap 192 gear. I think I've got a few in the legacy as well. I think it might be yeah, we've got a that's a crit surge enhancement actually. But yeah, I do have a few of them. I think I gave one to my gunslinger actually, but I could always just retrieve it. It's not a big problem to retrieve. Oh, I'm stuck. Oops. Slash stuck there. Oh, where's all my mounts? Where are they all at? Stupid mounts there. We got stuck. See, most accidents happen in the home, but yeah. Sometimes swapping out the Alacrity for the surge does make a little bit of a difference to your single target. AoE healing, however, Alacrity is our biggest improvement, our biggest stat. So again, it depends on what you're healing, is what I would say. So that is all for this video. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon, and goodbye.